techno, house, drum and bass, ambient, trip-hop, experimental, electro, trance. Electronically based music has been around since the beginning of this century and has progressed with technology to speak for modern digital culture. From the start of rave culture in Europe, the electronic dance music scene has had its ups and downs, but continues to progress musically. A negative image has surrounded the underground dance scene due to widespread drug use and commercialization by the music industry. So, as electronic music becomes more popular, the scene encounters the task of improving its reputation and keeping people true to the music instead of focusing on image and money. In Atlanta, the underground dance scene is progressing to try and bring about a healthy, positive vibe, and is continuing to push the evolution of electronic music using styles that are both prevalent in Atlanta and around the world.
I think Atlanta actually is a good place to be right now because a lot of, like, New York has an established kind of music. Florida has established music, even the West Coast. And I think Atlanta is like growing. And we're becoming like an eclectic, I think, of different styles. Yeah. So I think actually Atlanta's in a good place, in a good position to be kind of like a global leader in that time. Maybe not the leader, but one of the people who are pushing varieties of styles and stuff like that. Because we have all types of DJs and musicians and artists over here.
First started DJing when I moved here in about 1981, and it was a few months after that, or maybe a few years. There were early clubs like 688 on Spring Street that were happening, and I was just a young. I think I was 19 when I moved here, and I would go there and be completely blown away by new wave music, which was a big thing back then. It sort of, looking back on it, really revolutionized how people looked at music and what they did with music. I think punk completely tore music apart, and new wave was kind of a disco version of punk, and we were the ones wearing all the strange bright clothing and doing all the strange, bizarre things around town. I think I first heard house in '87 with the Adonis stuff that was coming out of Chicago. My roommate Larry T. First bought that, and I can remember him first putting it on and saying, "Oh my God, you've got to hear this!" And it was like no other music I'd heard before because it didn't concentrate on words and melodies per se. It was much more about texture. And I remember thinking, this sounds like a little Jack in the Box. They used to play, the little thing would pop up, and that was House Your Body or Rock Your Body by Marshall Jefferson. And those were the first couple of things I heard by Adonis and Marshall Jefferson and a few others out of the Chicago scene because that's where it was coming from. That started breaking around 1986, 87. And then I left town, and when I came back, there was a radio station that played it. I think B103 had a house hour, a couple of hours on the weekends, and nothing really big. But I'd heard Adonis on that, and that didn't last very long. Though I guess it wasn't very popularly received or something. I've never understood that, but it sort of evaporated. And then there was this huge gap for many years. I think I moved back here in '88. And I even forget when I started the radio show, but between then, there was a complete dearth of anything electronic or housey or any of that genre. Nothing like that was being played pretty much anywhere. A few of the discos were working in a couple of the more popular ones, but nothing completely devoted to house or techno, which was coming up at that time as well. So until my show, there was a real void of that. I think that I hate to take all that credit. I just can't think of anyone else who was playing except Ted Patterson, who was playing that maybe at Color Box was big then, yeah, and he was playing good house music at Color Box. Very little techno. He was more of a house boy than a techno boy. As far as I knew, me and Yvonne Renee had the only even dance radio stations on Atlanta's airwaves, and mine was much more housey than hers, much more alternative, much more underground.
Do you think they gave a boost to the whole scene as far as people listening to it more? You said there was a lull before you started.
Yeah, there was really a dearth. There was really nothing on. I used to complain relentlessly until I actually got up off my own bed and started doing it myself. There was nothing. And as far as subjecting people to it or influencing people by it, I would, it was really one of the first long running radio shows on there. I try to play a real wide eclectic mix of music to expose people to the varieties of house music, and I don't know. I think more than anything, I read an article at the end of my stint there that said, all other genres of music, country was paling out for the big record executives and the record companies. Country wasn't pulling in what they had hoped or what it had been. It was kind of falling behind, and alternative was kind of getting too mainstream to really be alternative anymore. So the last I heard about the record industry is that they were looking for a sort of a new genre to push, and that's when Prodigy and the Chemical Brothers and those started making the transition from being alternative underground acts to going mainstream. And that's the last I heard of it. I'm not sure that they've even been successful. It seems to be a genre that you can't grab, or that they're afraid of, or that they can't market, or I don't know what the holdup is. I'm really waiting for that punch, because I'd really love to hear jungle and all the nice alternative acid jazz and stuff. I'd really love to hear that on a station that was committed to that nonstop. I don't know why that hasn't happened. I'm truly baffled by that, because there's so much talent out there, and it's such a nice, easy thing to tap, but apparently they're afraid of probably the drug connections, but rock and roll has always been about sex and drugs and rock and roll, and that's nothing new.
I have been into the club scene for several years and discovered a whole new world. In 1991, I went to visit my sister at the University of Florida for homecoming, and her friends knew of a club called Simon's, and it was a very exclusive club in that you had to be a member to get in. So we ended up going there, and can I say that we were taking drugs?
Sure.
I mean, it's part of it.
Yeah, no, if
So,
you want to disclose that about yourself.
The doors of perception in the mind were wide open, and boy, did they get filled. My mind was just blown away. We went in there, and the thing was, you walk in, there was just a very positive vibe as soon as you came into the crowd. It was a mixture, an amalgamation of so many different people, and just from every walk of life, and everyone was there to have a good time. And it was all about the music, about the DJ, and from there it just spawned. I just started going all over the place, getting into the scene, but I was always on the fray of the scene, because two of my good friends were like kind of the leaders of the pack, I guess, and so I just always went wherever they went and checked it out. But it was always about the music, it was always about the DJs, Then it started changing, I'd say in like 92, 93. We went to some different places. Went to a rave in Atlanta called Psychic One, and that was very interesting. It was I think it was the first one that they had ever had at the International Ballroom, and people just didn't know what to do with themselves. They're like, oh man, this is so new and different, and that's when it started becoming strange. It became more oriented around how you dress, who are you and what's your scene. But I mean, there were still so many interesting people to meet. I met people from all over the country. The music, of course, blew my mind. Some of the DJs back in the day and the music back then was just so fresh and so new.
And even today, it's still fresh and new, but it's reinventing itself all the time, as it was then. But that's when I like kind of jumped into the scene. And then for my 21st birthday, my best friends took me to Orlando, and we're gonna mac out on weekend, get crazy, and it was very strange because everyone started dressing alike, dancing alike, and everyone in this particular club called Oz, which is legendary in Florida and Orlando, they all had shades on, which really freaked me out. It was just, it started becoming very strange, and I said, I'm out of this. And until I moved I moved to Atlanta, and it's just funny how you gravitate towards the scene or the people. It's all about the music. That is the core where it all starts. And
Wait, how long were you in Florida, and how long have you been in Atlanta? For the going out in the scene?
In the scene? I've been going out in Florida since I was a wee lass. But as far as getting into the house scene, that was in 91, and I moved to Atlanta in 95. So, and I never really went out in Atlanta. I never, I went out a couple times and just thought, I'm over this, because everyone was younger than me, and things had changed. Just things were different, completely different, and it became like this, boxed in kind of, just everyone. It lost its freshness. You've always had dance music. It's nothing new, and it's so funny because now in commercials, it's like, especially for our generation's wallpaper music, it's the beats behind you, it's the fast, images coming at you, and so everyone's saying that it's going to die out, and it's not. It will keep reinventing itself. And as far as the labels picking it up, it's something that the kids all started to get into, and kids like the fast beats, and so they kind of capped it and labeled it and stuck it in a bin. So now when you go to the store, you have your techno section or your electronica, whatever. But I don't think that is going to inhibit the true creators, and it's not going to influence the people that are just doing it for the love of music. And hopefully the people who've gotten big still do it for the love of music and not for the love of money.
I've been DJing I've been out there for like a year and a half, 2 years. But I've been, around for I've been DJing for 2.5 altogether, and I've been partying for about 4.5, 5 years. And I've seen Atlanta go through its stages, and it was once a prosperous, booming utopia of party funk, but it fell off a little bit, But I think that's just due to drug intake. People forgetting about the music, which is what it's all about. People just gotta remember that when you're going out to a party, you're going out to a party to have fun and to listen to good beats and dance your behind off, and but people forgot about that and just go to a party. Okay. I got $50. Party's $25. Sax $25. What's up? That's what I'm here for. And if they don't get it, then they spend their entire night trying to find that, or just something like that. And basically, if your brain's clogged, you can't understand. You can, because you're growing in some respects, but you can't understand in a full respect because you're hazed.
Responsibility for our schools and things like that, but it's definitely the scene is definitely affected by reasoning for not going out.
How's that?
I think to me, a lot of the drugs that are here now are music is influenced by them. A lot of the drugs that kids do now are a lot more speedy and stuff like that, and music has been influenced by that, where it's gotten a lot faster just to keep up with the kids. And I don't like so fast uppity beats, more relaxed.
The drugs have changed, it's just different drugs, newer generation of kids, doing different things. As far as trying to take drugs out of it, that's going to be damn near impossible. People are going to do what they want. First of all, music and drugs have been together since music's been around.
I think that back when, there's always going to be drugs in any scene because that's just the way that the world works. But I think, honestly, Atlanta was better when people were just doing ecstasy and sitting out in their cars smoking blunts. you know, because they were relaxed and they were feeling the music more. I don't necessarily say, you know, go out and do mad drugs, because if you have a problem, you're going to have a problem with anything, whether it's drugs, food, whatever. But if you can handle stuff, go out there, you know, have fun, you know, take it light, but don't be snorting junk up your nose, because when you're doing that, you're totally frying your brain and you're forgetting about everything, and you're forgetting about who you are.
When you bring drugs into any kind of scene, it's sometimes ruins it. It takes away from what it's actually all about. I think that drugs don't particularly. It just you're only escaping reality with drugs. You're not really in many times I've seen at parties, kids don't come there to actually listen to music. They're not there to hang out and hear some new music that's going to really, you know, because I don't know how to explain it. It's like when I partied at I played at a lot of different parties, and I've seen a lot of kids come there and just sit around and do drugs all night. They're not really there for the music. It's just hanging out. Who's got the coolest pair of pants or shoes, or like, you know, I'm wearing a silver jacket. You know, they're all up on ecstasy all night, and it's not really there for the music. It's just for fashion, a hangout place to do drugs, or a safe place for them to do drugs, outside of their home, or, you know, out of reach of them getting out of danger of them getting in trouble. Where these parties are perfect playgrounds for them to go and do these sorts of things, but it's not actually a place where they'd actually go to hear music. But you know, if you look at it now, it's a lot different. You see a lot less kids. You still have a large percentage of people that do drugs at the party still, but then you see a lot of kids that are just really there for the music, which is good.
How do you think the drugs have changed the music?
I think drugs have had a large impact, particularly on how things have mutated in all these different forms, because in that aspect, where I say it's 50%, I think sometimes it's good on a creative level, but it can go either way. It's something that it should be very carefully dealt with. I think it's done good and bad things. I've heard music composed by composers who've said they have used drugs to help, you know, make their albums. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. But my theory usually goes, most of the time that you're on some kind of drug or something that inhibits you to do what you do normally, you're not actually going to be right on cue. I mean, I know exactly. You can't. You're functioning with only half of your brain. You're not really all there together. So things don't usually come out the good. Maybe some cool ideas might happen, but it's usually by accident. It's never by intentionally. And you can ask any musician this. Most of the cool or innovative things that ever happened, that have always happened in music, whatever genre you look at, have always happened by accident. I don't think it's necessarily something that would happen by drugs or something. Although a lot of people have tried that approach. It's real hit or miss though, because I've heard a lot of people try that. And sometimes it works and it sounds cool, and sometimes it doesn't work. It sounds terrible.
So my first party was about 4 years ago, and it was so different than it is now. I mean, to me, like, it just makes me happy every time I think about it. I mean, the vibe was totally different. Just a whole bunch of people loving on each other. It's just changed so much since then.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of various factors. I think it has a lot to do with the drugs that are in the scene right now. A lot to do with what Brent was saying, the commercialization. I think it has a lot to do with promoters that have been in the scene. I think it has a lot to do with a lot of things. Our party, which was me and my friend Eddie and Kirby, Pure Productions, we threw our party to sort of remember what it used to be like. And that's where we get our name, Pure. Because before it was pure everything. Pure fun, pure music, pure good time. Just, it was beautiful, you know. And with our party, my personal goal for my party was that everyone in the place to be having a good time. And I think we succeeded, you know, because it was a good vibe, and we basically wanted to feel the way we used to feel. I think it's very much the promoter's responsibility to give off a good vibe and give people what they want and give them their money's worth and realize that you're doing this for the people, you know, and you have to have good reasons behind your production, you know, and we just went about it in that way, and I think that it was successful because of that reason. Usually when people are trying to promote a party, that a lot of promoters stick together and help the person doing it. You know, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons and you're out there to have a good time, and everything usually goes well. Where it goes wrong is when you do it for the wrong reasons and you do it for money or just, you know, material reasons. And I think it's gone down because of materialism. I think that it started off as just a good time. I mean, the first time I went out to a rave, I wasn't a raver. I had so much fun because there was all kinds of people there, you know. I mean, it was just beautiful. Just so many different types of people just having fun. And just the vibe was way up here, you know. And then it was like that for like a year or two, and then it started going downhill. And I think a lot of that had to do with the trendiness of it and the fact that the newcomers didn't realize what it was about. And I think they didn't realize what it was about because various groups of people throwing parties didn't show them what it was about. And that's where my job as a promoter comes in, is to show the people who come into the scene who are young, like I was when I came into it, that it's not about drugs, it's not about the pants you wear, it's not about any of those things, it's about the music and having a good time and giving off a good vibe. And unfortunately, a lot of that's forgotten because it is such a trend now. You know, the drugs have changed. The music has changed. You know, it's still really good music, but I think the whole scene has changed because people don't know what it is anymore. And that's why a lot of people who used to go out, who did give off that good vibe, have stopped going out because it's just so sad. You know, it's just discouraging when, like, there's so much potential, but nothing's happened with it.
A lot of the stuff that we do is like, in just being as promoters, like really community conscientious, like the way we do canned food donations or clothing donations or toy donations. So sometimes people, like especially the young people, feel like they're really powerless to do anything in the community, and they see a lot of things going on with them, but they really don't know how to help. And coming to a party and knowing that you're going to do like donations or whatever kind of gives you like a feeling like, you know, you're partying, but at the same time you just did something really, you know, positive, you know, on the other side of it. You know. We wanted to really boost the scene up. We wanted to make people feel really good about just the fact that we're all just come together and really just celebrate. And it's not about money, and it's not about, you know, I mean, it is a lot about money, but, you know, in that one night we wanted to make it just really, really positive. We didn't want money to be the main issue why people couldn't go to the party. We wanted people to come and celebrate and just be who they were and just have the freedom to, you know, enjoy what they're doing. And, you know, people pay a lot of money to go to parties these days, and we just wanted to give something back because we both have been partying in the scene for a while, and, you know, it's like the prices have been escalating and the quality has not been, I don't think the quality has been the same as the pricing. You know, like $25 parties, could be just as much as a $10 party as far as the quality concerned. So we try to be really quality oriented. If we charge that kind of money, we want to make people feel like they spent that kind of money. You know?
And that's why we go in and we do like enhancement to the spaces. We bring artwork, we bring different ideas together, because it's not only just music that we try to like promote, but just all creative type of, you know, stimulation through visual. She does documentary, video graphics. I do sculpture, and so, like, you know, and she does fine art as well, and, you know, we kind of just, it's like creativity in all types of realms, so we try to go in and transform an environment, like an installation, you know, and bring in music and things like that.
It's a lot of things that we do that is still so new, that people don't really understand what we're doing, so we have to kind of like work in the old with the new. And that's really challenging, which is good because it leaves you always to like have to be really creative about how you're going to approach stuff. A lot of people are only so used to like a certain sound. You know, like Florida has a big influence here. And so certain sounds have a big influence. So what we want to do is we want to integrate it, you know, because completely changing it over, people like, you know, they'll totally like not know what you're doing and they won't support it. The best thing to do is like to try to integrate it slowly so people can understand like music is so broad, music is so general, and it's so much out there. It's like global. I mean, we like to have a really global feel to what we do, a lot of really global concepts to what we do, and it's just, it takes time, and that's really cool because we want to take the time to cultivate it. And so we're willing to put in the effort and like being here in the long run to do what we want to do with the scene and really create a positive vibe. We want to work with the city and make it, you know, community oriented so that we can bring the scene to another level. And all the people that have been promoting, and even the people who like do it for a little bit and step off and come back in, I mean, everyone is helping that process, you know, in the whole picture. And that's the kind of stuff that we want people to see more than like, you know, little petty things or whatever. It's like everybody really is contributing to the whole, you know, and eventually you look down back and, you know, every little party someone threw helped the process. So I think that's a good way to look at it. And that way, you know, it is competitive, but at the same time, it's like there's a reason behind it. We're all going in the same direction. We all want the same thing. We all love the music, and we all love to, you know, so it's just like, sometimes you forget that, but I think that's like the best part of it. Because when it's a really good party in Atlanta, people come together and they party.
Yes. Everybody in the woodwork.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
When it's a good party here, people throw down. You know, maybe like not every party is like that, but when you get that right, when you tweak it right, and then all the crews come out. All the crews come out and support. So that's one thing that's so cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Ever since the beginning of music, you know, and I'm sure this even goes back to Mozart, you know, whatever, you know, ever since the beginning of music, there's underground and there's commercial. And at some point in time, that commercial was underground. You know what I'm saying? And so every underground goes to that higher level, you know, and that's not bad because that's just the way it is, you know, and there's going to be a new underground popping up pretty soon. Who knows what it's going to be, but it's going to be something crazy, and there's going to be some new underground to go to, you know, and that's just the cycle.
Actually, I think we're pretty competitive. I mean, I think we've done a good job, and I think we can always do better, you know. But it goes back to like what I said. I mean, we all have to come together. We got to be positive, and we got to have everybody's got to work together on this one to keep it going, you know. I mean, we're bringing in some good people. I mean, Atlanta's had some good shows, and you know, I mean, and some bad shows, you know. But it can always get better. But you got to get past the petty stuff.
It's really cool for me to be in America and to, you know, get that kind of rapport going with an audience that we've been getting going lately. I mean, even going a year back now, it was one of those things where people kind of just stood there and, you know, in England, it's just a complete free-for-all, you know what I mean? You know, you go to the Phoenix Festival, we play for 10,000 people, you know, and it's everybody's half naked, sweating and screaming the whole time. And it's getting like that in America, and it's really exciting to see, you know. I think that it's just harder because, you know, a place like England or Germany, they had Kraftwerk and, you know, Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze and, you know, whatever, Einstweiss and Neubauten on Top of the Pops and on... was in the mainstream, so electronic music is sort of ingrained into their culture, and there's a really profound understanding of the music. You know, you can talk to someone at a shoe shop, you know what I mean, and they can tell you remixes of Orbital tracks dating back to '89. This is the truth too, you know.
Oh, I do.
In America, people are like, Orbital? Is that like laundry detergent or something? You know what I mean? So, but to get the kind of response that we've been getting is really great, and it feels really good, you know, being in America and people being into it the way that they are.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
I
I
think
think we're growing in it, you know.
I think in the past year it's gotten huge. I mean, of course, with a lot of the majors picking it up.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
know, helps.
Yeah.
Helps and not, but
yeah,
you know,
that's-
I was
well,
going to
yeah.
ask you about that.
I think that you know, it's good, but it's something that we've got to keep in check, because this music comes from, you know, really small pockets of friends that have been like, you know, ghetto style, making records in their bedroom with a couple pieces of equipment, and people that really altruistically care about the music, you know. And to see corporate America, you know, tagging us as the next big thing might be exciting for people that are just getting into it, but for people that have been doing it for 10, 15 years, it is
like,
kind
where
of
were
scary.
you
Exactly.
10 years ago?
Yeah. But I think it's, you know, I think there's a difference between, you know, corporate America being sort of used as a benefactor and us being pimped, if you know what I mean, you know? So I think we just really need to draw the line and remember, you know, the music first and foremost, and we'll be all right. I think that it's great, though, because the upside to it is, you know, that there's been a lot of media attention to it, and people are learning how to respond and interact to it, you know? So there's an upside and downside. I think we just have to really be precious about the music and protect it. I think overall it's a really good thing what's happening in the States right now. It's exciting for us, you know what I mean, as artists, to get
a lot
the
more
response.
artists have been coming up.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's really true. I think that a lot of the people you're seeing coming up now, you're getting a lot less of the sort of shoegazing live performances, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us that are doing these kind of shows now come from a band background. I mean, myself, I was playing in hardcore bands and stuff in high school. You know, I played in, you know, we used to do Black Flag and Minor Threat and Fugazi cover songs, and you know, and I beat on car springs in my bedroom and tortured my parents for a couple of years listening to Ice Schloys and Neubaut. And then, so I think that you're seeing people that come from more of a performance background that want to engage an audience, and it makes it a lot more easy, I think, for America to understand, because America's very into associating imagery with music. You can't just get them on one of their senses. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's starting to make sense here, and it's a really exciting time for it, you know.
There just needs to be artists coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm from Atlanta." Besides Goody Mob and Outkast, and that's it, you know. And they're definitely recognized, but you know, that as far as the electronica scene, there definitely needs to be people like known in the cities, and there needs to be DJs known that they're from Atlanta, all over the country, and then step out into all over the world.
Tell me a little bit about the music that you make. Like, how would you describe it?
It would be more experimental based, more avant-garde, definitely more on the weirder end of things, not more your typical commercial music like most of the artists it would typically make. More on the lines of people like Aphex Twin, Audiker, Seafield, Mark Clifford, some of the European and German artists.
So basically, like, pushing the envelope of
Definitely pushing
electronic music.
Definitely pushing the envelope of electronic in every area aspect of sequencing, sound generation. Everything is in the whole picture would be. We definitely push it more than any other form of music would, or in the say like drum and bass or house music, or our beats, even our sounds. The way we compose is always on a higher level than. Not saying that it's better. It's just that we like things that are more advanced, more technical, things that are more complex appeal to us more than it would than the norm. Primarily where I get booked more up in the north, Detroit, New York, Canada, because the popularity of that kind of music is caught on more with the kids up here, whereas down here in Atlanta it hasn't really. I wouldn't say it hasn't really caught on. It's just it hasn't really caught the attention of the crowds here in Atlanta, I guess, so to speak. Most of the kids are more into catching into the latest, coolest trend. Like drum and bass is really popular now, so every kid's going to the store buying drum and bass, or they're buying, you know, the latest, coolest house record. What's the number one hit top record that everyone's playing? They're just looking basically in the magazines or the charts. Okay, this is maybe what we should play, or we're just jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak. Not really picking what they really love to go with and staying true to their heart. You know, basically, you know. That's what I've seen a lot here in Atlanta. or a lot of kids doing, is just jumping on the bandwagon. Really not. They're not really in it for particularly the right reasons. I think they're in it for other reasons. It's more of a fashion, cooling thing to do than it is actually something that they're really into doing. Whereas I've been doing it my whole life, and I was just interested in something new and innovative at the time, like a new music or a new form of electronic music. And I could remember going in 9th grade to see Richie Houghton, and maybe no one had even known who Plastic Man was. And I was going in high school to parties up in Kentucky because there was no parties here in Atlanta. So I had to actually go out of state to go see events or hear music of that genre, of that nature. And whereas now it's so popular, it's such a different, it's come into more of the public's eye, and it's now more of a mainstream, so to speak, that it's easier and more attainable for kids to get into. But it's not exactly the same the same way that it was back in those days. I think we have some good producers here in Atlanta, like Brian, the guys at Terminal, and Whamdoo, Chris Brown's has done particularly very well with the house thing. But as far as like a really solid name artist out of Atlanta, I don't think Atlanta's really produced anyone. So you look at Florida, you Rabbit the Moon. You can go to Detroit or Chicago, who has numerous huge name producers who've changed the face of the music constantly. Whereas Atlanta's just been kind of I would say a stagnant period where we have a lot of people doing something, but no one's really doing anything that I would say would move in any terms. But as far as like really making a dent in the music industry or music in general, or electronic music, I don't think that Atlanta has actually produced anyone that's really set a huge impact. Like someone like Rabbit the Moon or Armin Van Helden or Derek May. You take some of these other big producers out of these other cities, even out of New York, and you can see them making a really good name for themselves. And I think the closest person, like I said, would be Chris Braun right now, and Nick Bryan. They're the only two people, but like I said, they're still considered an underground. They're still not widely known by many people. And I think the Atlanta scene in that aspect, it just shows that it's not that we're behind. It's just that it seems like that a lot of people here in Atlanta don't take that the musical side of things that seriously. In my opinion, I just don't think that it's. I mean, when you go to these other cities that I've been to, it's a lot. It's a much different ball game. As far as like the producers, you have a constant flow of producers, and it's more of a competitive field. Whereas here, things are so much more slack because really no one's really doing anything. Sure, you have a lot of kids that are interested in making the kind of music, but you have no one really on the serious, who are seriously signed or constantly, in that form of work that are really into doing something like that. Whereas it's more just a fad for kids right now, I think, in our city. Whereas we only have, because I've known Chris and Brian for a very long time, and they were in making music even back in industrial, so they were just like me growing up making electronic music, not necessarily techno or jungle or house like what all the branches it is out today, but we were just making electronic music back in the beginning, and we just still kept with it because we just love making. It's the love of making music. We just happen to be, not stuck, but we've just grown with what it's become right now. That's generally what the same thing is. But I generally think that in other cities, that I think Atlanta is not quite on the level.
As far as right now, I think that the scene is starting to. I say the scene, whatever. I mean, just the music is where it's at. It's getting reinvented. People are really starting to experiment. You've got third world citizens who are just amazing. The turntables, working their skills and their craft, their artwork. Then you've got bands like Safari Sound System who are using elements of both live music and records. Of course, spinning live, but that to me is just the perfect match because if you're gonna make a song, you should handcraft it. If you're gonna and that's with anything, artistry, DJ, do something different with it, create something. And DJs really, the really good ones can go into a club and can take over a crowd and just use their powers. Because you can really put a message throughout the music or a feeling or a mood, and that to me is incredible. And I'm feeling that is what's happening here in Atlanta right now. Things are being reinvented, starting starting to go a little underground. Because you have so many people popping up and, you know, wanting to go deeper into the music, wanting to do something different. So it's really on the up and up, and it's just getting better, in my opinion.
Because I've gotten some really cool things in the bottom of people's apartment complexes, et cetera, where there's like trip hop, hip hop, raga, you know, dance hall, and all this stuff with people playing their drums with microphones, with didgeridoos, with, you know, all this stuff. I mean, underground is a community vibe, whereas commercial is a national vibe. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. And when you have a community in any respect, that I believe that's underground, because it's hard to have an entire community of like 5 billion people, because it's just, there's too many people. Community, in a sense, is like closeness.
We do DJ-based music, where the DJ generally runs the back tones and the rhythms and the pace of it, when the musicians step in and accent and take it away from the DJ a lot of the times. But as a general rule, though, the DJ takes control of the group more than anybody else, and that's something unique to us. We think is like everybody's used DJs to accent bands before, but now we have a band to accent the DJ. And
basically, it's just like you could go anywhere and see somebody spin records, and that's all fine and good. But to go and see a live show, it feels totally different than you're watching it actually happen in front of you, as the sound is being created, and the vibes are just born, and you see the birth of the sound. And you hear the sound, and you can look over and see somebody playing the synthesizer, making that sound come out. That where normally you just see some guy playing his record and it's all pre-recorded. That's all fine and good, but the live aspect is what we bring with our live drummers, our live bass player, live digital sampling, keyboards, Moog, vocalists, you know, and just like basically we just create dance music for you right there. Atlanta just needs so much right now, and it's all here and forming, and this is like the fetus stage of the Atlanta dance culture right now. It's just there's so many things, it's all mutating in so many different ways and directions, and there's nothing really going on, but it's like there's no main set going on. If anybody's doing anything, they're gonna look at you, you know, and they're gonna judge it, and you get your chance in the spotlight in Atlanta right now, just because that's what's going on. There's so many things going on, but at the same time, there's not that many enormous things going on. It's like the subculture is like really just brimming and ready to burst.
The competition is still wide open, but it's like, and it's new and it is fresh, like as far as what people are trying to do with it sometimes. But like as a group, we feel like we put more energy and organization and positivity towards putting it out there than what we see in the scene. I think Atlanta needs that a lot. One thing I really respect about Atlanta is it seems that the evolution depends directly towards the kind of energy you put into it. If you put into it like you're all greedy or after money or after this or that, then that's what's going to kick you in the ass a little later on. But now it seems like if you're into it for the music and if you're into it for the vibe and building the family, building the industry up, because it is so new, then that's what we're going to have as a foundation soon. We're going to keep growing. But if people are out for the immediate reward or to try and get the hype, try to become some superstar DJ and get signed onto a record label, I mean, I'm sorry, but they're going to get played out, and they're gonna wind up, you know, not as rewarded as if you feed into it and build into it for everybody coming along with you. And I think that's one thing I really like about Atlanta, but it is at a state now where people can still bring it in, and it's evolving. And we're linking up with a lot of people now to try and make it evolve as a whole, not just for certain individual groups, but doing a lot more outdoor parties and a lot more larger venues. It's coming, and more corporate money is coming into it a lot more lately, but like trying to keep the intentions pure.
I think it's all going to come for a full circle, and it's going to blend and mesh so much with live and pre-recorded and how it gets tweaked with, you know, effects and whatnot, that it's just pretty soon you're going to have such a variety of things to go and see, not just in Atlanta but anywhere. as far as all this is concerned, because technology is just going crazy and everyone's loving it and everyone's pushing it. So the music itself is just going to mutate until it's just it will never end. It will always, it's just ever widening right now. Just like the span of what there is to do and what you can do, yourself. With the one turntable and effects box, you can change the world, just a little bit.
Now, in progress.